Hello and welcome to the People Do That podcast.
On this podcast, we're going to talk to people that do epic shit with their lives.
These are people that are good at life. We will talk to life coaches, sports broadcasters, fitness experts, Marine special ops, and even someone who became a doctor after the age of 50. Because you know what?
People do that.
People do that?
People do that.
Well, I give you just a little bit, I don't need a lot. Open up your heart, show me what you got. The sugar tastes sweet, coffee in the pot. Now give me just a little bit, just a little bit. Give me just, yeah, now.
All right, boys, here we are. Let's do this. We got an epic guest today to bring in here in a little bit. He's waiting outside in his car. But how's everybody doing?
Wait, he's waiting outside in his
car?
motor casa.
In his motor casa, yes.
The epitome of
Is that
the...
called a teaser?
That's a teaser. You did
We're
a little
teasing,
teaser,
yes.
yeah. The epitome of the people do that. This one receives a dot, a question mark, and an exclamation point.
Yes,
They are.
exactly.
It's all over the place.
I mean, yeah,
I'm loving this.
and that's just from the less than one page bio.
Yes.
We haven't even. Brian and I haven't met him yet, but you know him.
Yeah.
I know him, and I can just tell you that he is. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's got personality, but his story, I don't want to give too much away, but it is incredible, and it's going to be a lot of fun. That's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
Bring on people like
And
him.
a reminder to our listeners, like, this is how we work. We like the guests come on. One of us knows the guests. It's most of them so far have been Tim, but maybe we might know the person. But we get a little bio, we do a little research, we come up with some questions or some thoughts and whatever. But yeah, this one's unique, man.
I gotta say, I feel like it's gonna be a good one, and if you like it, I hate to plug the podcast, but we have to.
Yeah.
Share it with friends.
Yes.
Subscribe to our channel. If you like hearing about epic people that do amazing things with their lives, I know I do. Maybe just give us a follow, like, subscribe, whatever.
Our parents are still watching on YouTube, right? The YouTube. I'm still a Spotify or Apple guy. You're a YouTube guy, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, when I leave the house, I do Apple in the car.
Go to Apple
if
in
I'm
the car.
listening in the car.
Yeah.
But if I'm at home, I'll turn my phone landscape because I really like seeing me on camera.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Just noticing all of my deficiencies.
Yeah.
Whether it's the eyes that look like buttholes, or maybe the 3 or 4 chins that I had that day, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm just letting my beard overgrow. That's really awesome.
What you don't know, though, is like I've done the analysis on everything, and in good-looking women aged 21 to 35, they all want to watch us on YouTube. I don't
That's
know
right.
what it is.
I don't know either.
They don't do Spotify.
Dad bods?
Yeah, I think they're big
it
into the
dad
dad bods.
bods?
Yes,
Is that our honey
that's
hole?
it.
That's the 21 to 35.
Yeah, right.
Is that our-
Do we need a social media
I
firm to tell
don't
us
know about
that?
that.
I think so.
You guys are really resonating with the 21 to 35 woman demographic.
Yeah.
True or false?
Yeah. Actually, did I mishear you when you just said, you guys, no one that's 21 to 35 that's a woman is listening to you?
True. That's what I would go. True.
Yes.
All
What's
right.
with
So,
you, Brian?
so speaking of our previous guests, our astrological consultant, and at some point somebody's gonna get sick of me talking about this, but I'm still
fascinated.
It's blown my mind. Absolutely. I'm just so more. Like I am seeing the world in a different light. I'm in tune. I'm in
yes.
tune, and so I'm ready to share something that I think is that I'd like to share with you guys. I think
I'm so worried.
I'm ready to start watching football. I know, but no, what the Americans would call soccer. I think I've gone to that place.
Wow.
You're ready?
I think I might be ready. I'm really
And
opening
this
up
is
here.
because you got an astrological reading?
I think so. It's just because I'm just opening myself to new things, and then I watched the Beckham biography on Netflix.
Yes.
I'm blown away. Were you guys paying attention to this when this actually happened?
No, when
I'm
it was
kicking
happening.
myself for
What,
not.
Beckham?
Yeah.
No.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Like a prodigy at 14, right?
Yeah.
And handpicked and groomed to be this superstar. And at the time, he looked like a doughy little white kid from Gilbert, and then he turned into this like superhuman, right?
Yeah.
And he might be a shapeshifter, but I swear, like sometimes he looks just normal, like, hey, I can hang out with Beckham, right?
Yeah.
And then he's hanging out with Tom Cruise and Will Smith
Yeah.
and trying to get sucked into the Scientology stuff. But no, fascinating. And at the heart of all of it, and I'm sure there's tons of stuff that's left out, but it's a love story. Like, he fell in love with Posh Spice, and they just loved each other and lived together.
That is
like, what is this?
Amazing. Yes.
But why do you want to watch soccer as a result?
I find this.
Maybe you want to watch more documentaries?
Maybe more. Maybe that's it. See, this is why I come on. This is why I share.
Soccer players are normally like really good-looking young men.
Yeah.
There might be. I mean, maybe there's something that Tom
Tremendous
unleashed
athletes.
that,
Never gave them credit because they can't use their hands. Like, that's not it's not a real sport, right? Right, like playing
Kicking
as a
shit
kid,
around,
right?
yes.
It's like cheerleading and dance. Like, they don't
Yes.
touch a ball. Like, that's not a sport.
Right.
That's right. Softball, baseball, football,
Yeah.
basketball, right? You get graded. You have to score points in
Yeah.
order to win, right? Like, yeah.
Well, it's fascinating that you're into soccer too, because you're not a big fan of feet.
Not
And
a big
that's
fan
all
of
they
it, and
use.
that's all they use. Maybe that's it.
This is a new Brian.
Yeah,
This
footies,
is a new
and they
Brian.
call them boots. They put their shoes. They
Yeah.
call them boots.
What's their jersey?
What is that? Is it a kit?
It's a kit.
It's a kit.
Really?
And they
Yeah.
play on the pitch.
They play on a pitch.
Oh God, I love it.
There's a lot
I
of
love
it.
it. I
A
might,
lot
By the way,
I
like
I might go in.
I'm a year in.
Oh, see?
By the way,
See?
To soccer?
Yeah.
Or
So you stayed in the
football?
closet. He didn't come out.
Yeah, I didn't come out. I didn't come out of the soccer closet.
When you become so famous, you go by one name. That's pretty awesome, right?
That is awesome.
Right? When they call
Beckham.
you Bex and then Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ronaldo,
Zigo, Messi. Yep.
Jesus.
And
There's so many like.
Pele.
Yeah.
I just went with non-soccer. Madonna.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was going off that thing.
And it just happens we have a guest today.
yes.
Who goes by one name?
One name. You just need one
wow.
name.
Your segue is incredible.
How long have you been planning that?
Not only that, I mean, this intro is going to hit so big. Like, we knew we needed to appeal to the soccer fans.
Obvious.
Because they want more
They were-
of this. So we
Give
went
them-
hard. We leaned in.
I like that.
Should we bring our boy in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's blow our minds. Here we go. Well, this day has finally come. Since the moment the idea of the People Do That podcast was born, Cosmo Stefan was the first guest that came to my mind because his life exemplifies people do that. After a prolific career at Prescott High School, where he was a dominant multi-sport athlete that earned him election to the Prescott Sports Hall of Fame, Cosmo went on to be a commercial airline pilot with over 500 takeoffs and landings on his way to a long career, ... Or on April Fool's Day 2013, he put that life on hold, hopped into his Toyota Prius, and set out on the most epic adventure. He spent the next 365 days driving his motor casa of a Prius to all 48 states for a total of 82,963 miles, accompanied by nothing more than a Kimbo Slice figurine. He slept in a different city every day, stayed in each state at least a week, and spent at least 90 minutes in a total of 641 different cities. Oh, and he also swam in 157 bodies of water, visited 274 colleges, 223 national parks, 273 museums, 61 breweries, 27 zoos, all that before returning on April Fool's Day 2014. What the hell? And guess what? Cosmo never went back to his corporate job. There is so much more to tell you about this man, but I'll let him tell you about it. My friends, I give you the Joshua Cosmo Allen Stefan. Here we go. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
Cosmo.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, why did you say what the what? Just say what the fuck.
That's what I wanted to
Don't
say.
say what the what.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Because your dad just said we should cuss less.
Yeah.
And
My mom's like, why does my son have to keep cussing in this
God,
thing?
we're like a PG-13.
No,
rated
but
R
we're
thing.
not.
Yeah.
No, when I read the bio earlier today, and I'm sitting on I called my 20-year-old son out of his room, and I said, dude, let me read this to you. And the first thing he goes, did he have a Google sheet for all of that? But now that I see here, like we got to figure out, he's got the smallest handwriting on the smallest sheets possible. So there was not a Google sheet. It looks like, is this it?
There was a lot of research that went into it. Like I did spend 2 to 3 months where I sat down and I had everything ironed out of like where I wanted to be, top 10 watering holes in every state, all the different things I wanted to do. But then I didn't really have any kind of basis. Basically, I started in Prescott, went and saw the sunrise at the Grand Canyon, and then a year later, I caught the sunset at the Grand Canyon and drove back to Prescott. That was all I had planned. I did want to do the Kentucky Derby. My birthday's on May the 4th, be with you. And so I planned on being at the Kentucky Derby then. and then I had to be in Tampa for a cruise with the family during Christmas.
Other than that, it was pretty wide
Other
open.
than that,
open.
yeah, I wanted to stay to the
Open,
north during the summer,
Yeah.
south during the winter, and just kind of, I did look at each state and kind of look at when was the best time to be there. Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine was a big focus. I wanted to be there during like the leaves changing because that was an area I'd never been to.
Okay.
So that was how it
So
originally
you did put thought.
started.
It wasn't like you were in your suit driving to work, and then you're like, you know what? I'm just going to go right here instead of left.
Canyon.
May 30th, like, what am I gonna do?
wasn't that sudden.
That 2-person puddle jumper to Scottsdale Air Park or the sunrise at
Yeah.
the Grand Canyon.
Wow.
It wasn't just pulling into work, but no, I'll go to the Grand
Right,
Canyon
yeah.
instead.
You put some thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I did have a very extensive list of everything
Yeah.
I wanted to do, especially with the national parks,
Yeah.
to all of the stadiums,
Yeah.
to a lot of movie sites. I
Yeah.
went to where they filmed.
Yes.
What is it? Home Alone.
Oh, yeah.
The house.
Yeah.
The McAllisters.
Okay.
Which is
McAllisters.
the McAllisters home. Went to the Breaking Bad house in New Mexico.
Nice,
And
yep.
went to a lot of those kind of places that were super interesting.
So did you just like what? So although it was not wake up in the morning, take a shower and say fuck it, I'm going to the Grand Canyon. It was 2 to 3 months worth of research, but there was a day that you decided.
Yeah, I knew.
Now I'm going to start the
I knew
research.
April Fool's Day would be pretty hilarious for Cosmo to take a big road trip. Because then all my
Lean
friends,
into that shit, by the way.
All my friends were really fitty on. Is he going, or is this just like some
a
sort of
joke.
internet hoax?
Yeah.
But no. And then I blogged about it where I was on Facebook. And the big thing for me was I ended up staying at 40 different hotels for free. And basically how I did that was I put where I was living on Facebook as my city. And all my pilot friends, since I was a pilot, would check in. And if they were in a nearby city, they'd let me know. And so I'd get a free hotel with them. Just staying with them. I'd get a late checkout.
Yeah.
So that worked out super. Because I was never allowed to pay. I had a lot of rules. Because I didn't want to run out of money. I knew this was going to be super duper expensive no matter what. And so I was only allowed to spend $20 a day. And if I ever went over it, I had to take it out of my next day.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wrong.
So I was, never
That's
allowed.
inclusive of gas and everything.
So no, gas I spent, I think I put it down here, $8,000 in the end.
Gas,
This is in
okay.
2013, so
In
I
a-
kind of got lucky with what gas
In a
prices
Prius.
were.
In a Prius.
And the Prius. And
Yeah.
that was why. I went and test drove all of the crossovers. And at first I wanted to do it in a Subaru Outback. Okay. And I was at the thing and they were like, have you heard of a Prius V? And I'm like, I'm 6'2". I can't be sleeping in a Prius.
Right.
But once I did see it, I was like, oh, I think I can do this. And I had a buddy, shout out my buddy Dave Perkins, who helped me build the entire car casa, which is basically took the back seats out. We put this wooden board system that has a kitchen on one side, and then it has my clothing in the other. And then it's basically a platform bed. And I slept in that 196 of the nights on the road trip.
In a Prius.
in a
I
Prius.
can't picture a man. And he's not a small man.
No,
No,
He's not a
no.
small man.
if you were doing it again today, would you do it in a Tesla? Would you do like?
Well, no,
would
I
it-
did think Tesla
Yeah.
X was probably the
was?
sexiest thought
Okay.
process of
Okay.
what I want to do it in.
Yeah.
Because I originally did write this as a book of 3 dudes in a motorhome. And so that's how it started. But then when it was just me, I kind of figured it would be hilarious to live in a Prius. I could park pretty
is.
much
I get it.
anywhere and no one would be thinking there's a big bearded man sleeping there. So I kind of felt it was the perfect craft. And it really was that Subaru Outback and the Prius. It was like $5,000 worth of gas difference when I looked at it.
So you did all the research. So I sent these guys your bio
Yeah.
when you sent it to me, and I don't know. One of you asked the question, just one word. It was, why?
Why?
That's before, because I want to talk more about it. But I want to like, where were you in your life where you're just like, I have this idea and this is what I want to do?
So
Like, I'm
we kind of
curious.
brushed over my whole pilot career. What I do have is I have my commercial pilot's license, but I never flew for any of the commercial airlines. What happened was I got my commercial pilot's license and finished all my flight. My sophomore year was 9/11. And so the entire market collapsed. Then, right as I was getting ready to go out into the field, the housing market crisis happened. And so I quickly learned that aviation is just, this is going to happen, it's cyclic. It's always going to be up, and it's always going to be down.
Right.
That's when Lockheed Martin plucked us up, and I got a job at a 6-figure gig, basically reading the weather for pilots. And I did that for 6 years until I couldn't do it anymore.
But so it was a great
And that
job,
was-
paid great.
It
You
paid
just were
great. And it
miserable?
financed because I ended up going to school for free because my dad was the dean of students at Embry-Riddle. But through my flight courses, I still graduated $74,000 in debt.
Wow.
Holy
So
shit.
and all my friends are like 6 figures in debt. You don't do aviation originally for the money; it's always the love, and that's kind of why they stick with it. Because
Right.
in the end, it is super financially lucrative, but
Right.
not at the start. And so I switched to Lockheed, took the paycheck, and hated it. And I was writing a book about 3 guys that travel the U.S. and go to a sporting function every day for 1 year. And so that's when I started thinking about doing it for real. But I didn't want to do it just committed to sports. I wanted to do it to everything I love, which is film, music, sports, and then kind of national parks.
And I saw some breweries along
I
the way.
definitely, and I didn't get to spend a ton of time at breweries just because I was driving about 220 miles per day.
That was going to be my question. Like,
Yeah.
well,
So I
these are
definitely,
contradicting each
I
other.
wasn't hitting the breweries very hard. I was
Yeah.
going to basically the ones that I could see that I could tour for free and doing the very dumbed down version. So I was never drinking, and I was never allowed to purchase any kind of alcohol on the trip.
Wait,
like I could
that was
have
one
it.
of your personal
That
rules?
was one of my
Personal
rules. So yeah, I had all these rules just because I didn't want to be wasting all my money on Guinness, which I would be buying in every other city if I didn't do that.
Right.
And so I was like, I'll make it a cool rule. I won't be able to do any of that. I won't be able to purchase anything. But I got pot in 36 states just from people that were like, wait, what are you doing? I want to participate. And so I did get a ton of gifts that I was able to use. But yeah, when it came to the alcohol, it was just like, I went to a couple of the breweries and that stuff, but it was just kind of like what I wanted to do. I kind of started it with, I had a couple different cards. I had the National Park Pass, which paid for all of the national parks. Then I had a museum and an art gallery, like yearly museum pass that I bought.
Yep.
And that got me into like 1,000 across the nation that I
Right.
could go to for free. And so that I tried to pick it out, all the things that I could do for free, tour all of the like stadiums for free. Now I paid for a couple. I went to Green Bay Packers Stadium, and I paid for the Dallas Cowboys Stadium tour. And that stadium tour is super expensive. They let you get on the Star.
Oh,
and I'm a
really?
Cardinals fan, so I got on the Star and flipped it off.
Stomped it just like
Oh,
Terrell
yeah.
Owens
Yeah.
back in the day. Yeah.
I hate the Cowboys, but I love their stadium tour.
Yeah.
And then I did the Packers one because that's, Lambeau's
Yeah.
fairly sacred.
Yeah.
And I even ate like a brat breakfast burrito before going in out of my car.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah, in my little kitchen. But then I did the Hall of Fame thing there. I did all of the Hall of Fames across America. That's what kind of wiped out a lot of my expenditure. I did get towed in New York City. And that was like
Costly.
5 or 6 days of not being able to eat. Like, or at least buy stuff.
Oh, because
Yeah,
if you
Yeah,
used
if
your
I
20 bucks.
I used all that, and if I ever went over, I had to take it out of the next day, and I was never allowed to bank if I went under, and it was just a way of it will keep me under budget and allow me to do 1 year on the road.
So you went without eating?
No.
Oh.
That was when I had a big bucket of food. It was just like my emergency food,
Oh,
my
I
cooking
see.
food.
You couldn't
Yeah.
spend
And
money
people,
on it.
people would give me food.
Right.
And so I would just have to cook out of that. And like for restaurants, I was never allowed to eat at a restaurant I'd eaten at before. So I couldn't eat at any of the chain restaurants
Okay.
unless it was one I'd never eaten at.
I love
And
these
that was
rules.
also
The
just,
rules.
Did
'cause
you
I didn't wanna-
document all of the rules, like the 10 Commandments?
I did. I do. I kind of have them somewhere just
Do
to
you?
kind of keep me on track of just like.
What were some of the other ones? Have you named them all?
see.
Or,
I kind of haven't. Like, well,
Budget?
the big one first was sleep in a different city every day for a year.
yeah.
That one I technically broke. Like, what ended up happening was in the middle of it, that's when I got flown back to Prescott to get inducted into my Hall of Fame for my high school. So that
there you go.
happened during the road trip.
Okay.
So I had to leave Falcor is the name of the car.
Falcor. I remember Falcor.
It's for the Luck Dragon from the Neverending Story, which this has totally turned into. I had to leave Falcor in Connecticut or Massachusetts and fly back to Arizona to get inducted.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I went on a cruise for 7 days with my family out of Tampa. And so I stayed a couple days in Tampa with them.
Yeah.
There was a day in Vermont where I had Wi-Fi at the Walmart I was sleeping at. And I was just like, I'm not leaving. And I went in and went to the restroom, and that was it. And spent the entire day in bed.
Oh, really?
And it was wonderful. Because it was
The little things.
Oh, it was a chaotic pace of what I was doing. When like the fact that I did it at age 32, I already know at 43 I can't do that road trip.
Right.
Like I'm already too old for what that was.
Yeah.
Because that was just. It's kind of, I wanted to throw down a gauntlet of anyone can do a more hardcore road trip than me. That's what my book is kind of going to lay out.
And you've been writing, I remember you documenting it on Facebook, and I know, you're a fantastic writer. Like, I felt like I was there some of the times with your description of it, and it was very inspirational, but I know you were working on a book. And last I talked to you was, it was a few years ago, and your book, the problem wasn't that it wasn't written, is that it was like thousands of pages.
It's tremendously long. It's the problem I have with the first book I wrote, which is 1,200 pages.
Oh my God.
And so
I can't even read a tweet.
I know. It's like something like 200 pages longer than War and Peace. So it's even like it goes beyond all the fun jokes. It's like longer than the Harry Potter series. That's the one I want to put that one online and dumb it down to a smaller one.
Right.
And then have it that you can click it out if you care about a certain element of it.
Oh, yeah.
To make it
That's
no
a cool
one
idea.
reads the same story.
There you go.
And
I
you
see.
decide your own level of involvement.
Okay.
Choose your own adventure.
It's kind of a choose your own adventure for our generation. And then the other one is kind of the same thing. I've got a fake story about a fake person that takes a fake road trip that has nothing to do with what I did, but everything in there is stuff that I did.
Oh, I see.
And I'm kind of doing that just to protect the innocent.
Yeah.
And everyone else involved.
Yes.
For bystanders
Yeah,
for my own protection.
Well,
All right.
Yeah, Nick's going to get into it.
I mean, it's
He's like
just
been holding back.
I want you to be my spirit animal. I don't know if that. We chose different paths. I love the path that I'm on, but I also love just like hearing this and the leap that you took. Like, and once it got out there, like, did it really get out there, or did it just stay like with the people on Facebook? Because some of these people that I'm going to walk from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, and next thing you know, they're on TV.
Yeah. So I have some stuff I want to share with you guys because I'm on an episode on a news channel in Mississippi because I dove into the Gulf Ocean while it was iced over during that Arctic vortex. And the whole reason was I was leaving Mississippi and I hadn't swam in a body of water, which was one of my rules. Was I had to swim in a body of water in every state, which I did. Okay. But that morning it was like 16 degrees in the morning.
And you had to do it.
And I had to do it. And, they had ice on it when I ran out there, so they thought that was hilarious. And I was staying with an ex-girlfriend's mother, and she knew,
Oh, my God.
she knew a person at the news, and she was like, the news will be there. And I kind of heard that a couple times. People will be like, oh, we'll try to get the news involved.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I actually made the Biloxi Evening News. And I was like their very important story. They had like 4 different lead-ins to it. And I had to drive. I was on the road trip, so I drove to Texas. And that was the next morning. That's when I got to see the whole special.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was hilarious because they were like, there was a fire and a family was able to escape the fire. But first, let's talk about Cosmo jumping in a body of water.
This guy froze his balls off in the.
And my whole story with that, because it was super early in the morning. It kind of got misconstrued that I was jumping in a body of water in every state to fight capitalism. Which is sort of what I was doing, but not really. But it was super funny that when I got online and saw my video, it was all these people that were like, this jackass thinks he's going to fight capitalism by swimming. Oh, my God. And I was just like, oh, I love that this is controversial.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Wait, let's go back to just real quick. The stayed with my ex-girlfriend's mother.
Yeah. Well, in the end,
I have a feeling something happened with your ex-girlfriend's
no.
mother.
Okay. That's definitely not as fun of a story as you.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Okay, thank God, but I wish it would have.
Yeah, well, because I have it here, because I did sleep in the car 198 nights.
Okay.
I slept in a tent 2 of the nights. I was on a cruise 7 of the nights.
Okay.
And then I slept 158 times indoors.
Okay.
So now 40 of those were a hotel.
Okay.
So in the end, I stayed with, what is that math? 118 different houses.
Wow.
And so, I was staying with like high school friends. I was staying with college friends. I was staying with friends of friends.
How did you connect it?
Ex-girlfriends.
How did you connect that though?
That I kind of had like help. Facebook was essential to what I was doing because I would look up all of the different like friends that I had and knew were in different areas and make a list and be like, hey, I'm going to be in South Carolina in a week. I'm doing this. And I would kind of have like a makeshift message that would be like, and at a very early stage, everyone on Facebook knew I was doing a road trip.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people wanted to get involved. They wanted to get a picture with Kimbo. That was, Kimbo
we got
definitely
Kimbo,
turned in.
You hold it up.
Yeah.
There's Kimbo.
Kimbo Slice.
If you're on Spotify or Apple Music, Google Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo Slice.
rest in
Wonderful
peace.
human. Rest in
Just,
peace.
just Google his upper half. Though.
Yes. His upper half. Yeah.
Yeah, and he has since lost his legs.
He's
I
lost
still
his
have
leg.
them.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to connect them. I don't think it's even vital.
That's all right.
No.
Yeah, I like he rides more comfortably in shotgun in that position.
So what was this part of it? What was the Kimbo? What was that connection?
So that was kind of my own spirit animal. It was my the Wilson.
Yeah. Wilson.
Wilson,
Yeah.
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 David,
Did you talk to him? And
I
everything?
talked to him all the time.
All right.
And what was happening was my buddy that I was working with at Lockheed, shout out Ricky, was like, "Hey, I have this Kimbo Slice doll. I think you should take it on your trip."
Yeah, he was right.
And it was perfect
He was
because I
right.
could put
He
him
was
in
right.
yoga
He nailed it.
poses.
Yeah.
Like he was super appendageable.
Yeah.
If that's a word. But you
I
could
think it
super
is.
get him into anything
Yeah.
in funny photos. And so
And he did everything with you, right?
He was everywhere. He obviously told you before we started taping. He bungee jumped with me in Vancouver.
That's a lot cooler than Flat Stanley.
Yeah. Flat Stanley.
Yeah.
The Flat
Flat
Stanley.
Stanley's
Like-
kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Kimbo Slice is
Kimbo,
way
yeah.
better.
And Kimbo Slice was an
Three-dimensional.
awesome celebrity who was
Yeah.
super famous, and then
Right on.
had a weird burnout story, and then is
Yeah.
now not with us anymore.
Yeah.
I remember, you on Facebook, it would be you and like pictures of you and Kimbo Slice, or Kimbo just
Yeah.
sitting on the dash, just chilling in Vermont or wherever.
Well, and that was the best part about the bungee jump, because I don't think we have this, but that was when they were like, "Do you have anything in your pockets?" I was like, "Yeah, I have an action figure," and they were like, "Oh, that's
What?
awesome."
Of
We
course
get
you
it."
do, Cosmo.
Yeah, because they were super into me because I came there alone. And they're just like, "You're just here to bungee jump by yourself in Vancouver?" And I was like, yes, I am.
Yes, I am.
And they're like, awesome. So they were like, that's cool, man. We're going to duct tape him to your harness on your chest. And so they duct tape him. So he did the 2 bungee jumps because they loved me so much that I jumped the first time. And then when I got up, they were like, Cosmo, you seem pretty cool. Would you like to go again? And so I went again, and it went backwards, which if I ever suggest going bungee jumping, try to do it twice, especially the second time for free.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
go
try that.
backwards.
Go backwards.
The second time going
Oh my
that
God.
way.
I don't know.
Way worse.
Would you do it?
Way
Bungee jump?
worse.
Bungee jump?
Yeah.
Reid? Bungee
Like
jump?
ladders. I mean, he wouldn't be.
He doesn't like ladders, let alone bungee.
Yeah.
I don't like ladders.
I don't know. Maybe it's me.
Just too high.
This one has 0 ladders. So I think, you'd be fine.
No, elevators. I don't like
Elevators.
No
That's it.
elevators.
Yeah, no, just interesting.
When I did,
I know.
and I'm not good at extreme sports. I learned because when I was a freshman or sophomore in Daytona Beach, Florida, I went skydiving, tandem, and we jumped, and he pulls the chute and says, "Oh shit." And I'd never been skydiving, so I thought we were in a parachute and everything was normal because it was different than us free falling. But hearing the "oh shit" was not what you want to hear.
what you wanna hear.
And so he like hits me in the head and tells me to arch my back. I arch my back, he cuts us loose, and we free fall again, and he pulls the reserve. And so at that stage, he tells me, "Hey, we're on a reserve chute, everything's okay." And so by the time I realized there was a problem,
Yeah.
it was fixed. And it
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, All right. That was
Oh
skydiving.
shit! Oh shit is not something you want
Things
to
I
hear.
don't want to hear when skydiving.
It is not what you want to hear.
But that did not stop you from a couple years later going, I'm going to jump off
Well,
of this
it
thing
did
and
take
hope
me
that
about
this
a
thing.
decade later to
Okay.
do the bungee
Yeah.
jump.
Okay.
Yeah, because I did do that in like 2000.
I've got to assume pretty adventurous as a kid. I'm picturing BMX bikes and
Yeah, oh,
jumping
yeah.
off shit.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
All right. Yeah. Living in
very much
Prescott
so.
and yeah.
Yeah, our
nature
connection
and-
growing up. So it's my aunt Linda, my mom's sister, is really good friends with Cosmo's parents, and so when we would go up to Prescott as a family, I remember we playing wiffle ball together. We'd play volleyball together.
In
what-
They're responsible for
what was
us
it called?
coming to Prescott.
Yeah,
Oh,
what's
in the
name of it?
Hacienda Country Club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
no, at the where you live, the Mountain Club.
Mountain Club, yeah, the Mountain
yeah, in the
Club. It is
Mountain
out
Club.
near
Yeah,
that.
we'd go, we'd play wiffle ball, and that's when and then we didn't really see each other for a while. I think Facebook helped, and then I was at my cousin Amanda's wedding in Vermont, and that's when he was just like, I'm guys. Could use a bed to sleep in, and I'd love to go to the wedding. I'm here. So,
Was that during the trip? Was that during the
Oh yeah,
adventure?
yeah.
Oh,
during
okay.
during the road trip, I went to a wedding. I went to 3 weddings during that road trip.
my kids were fascinated by Cosmo, like fascinated, like couldn't get enough. They were so excited for this podcast to come out. So
I can't help but think the whole time that we're talking, $20 a day. What did you eat? Because
Well,
I want to cook.
yeah.
I want to cook for you.
So
Like I want to be
here's
like,
the
dude,
other
here's
thing.
lobsters in
Was
Maine.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. That was the thing. Was I kind of blew my wad mostly on food, and it was kind of like Primanti Brothers in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
it was cheesesteaks. I bought 5 different cheesesteaks in Philadelphia when I was there. My halfway point was in Maine, and I spent $110 on lobster rolls just in one day. So and that was also knowing, hey, for the rest of Maine and the first half of New Hampshire, I'm gonna either stay with people or I'll figure it out.
Right, yeah.
But so there was certain times where I did splurge on food, and food was probably the biggest thing I splurged on.
which is awesome because to me, we've talked about that's how I like to travel, like sites, everything. That's great, but tasting the food that a destination is known
Well,
for.
and that was the juxtaposition of my entire trip. Was I wanted to experience as much as I could, but I knew that everywhere I went, there was going to be stuff that I wanted to do that I probably wouldn't be able to do.
Okay.
And I just that was why I had the rules, and it did suck because there was tons of times where it was like, oh, I'd love to do that, but it's just not in my budget, and I have to go to Toronto tomorrow.
And how did you figure out the budget? Like, did you go, I have X amount of dollars in the bank?
So yeah, I had 70 grand, and so I had that to play with, I guess you could say, because in the end it was 38,000. That's what it cost me to do this road.
Yeah.
trip.
So you
for a
didn't
year.
whittle it down to go, when I get home, I'm going to have $0 and start over.
No, because I knew I needed to write my book, and I did want to live semi off the grid, not at a hustler's pace for a little bit as well.
Right, yeah.
Because I did just knowingly walk away from a 6-figure job when jobs aren't great in America.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
So you didn't know what you're going to be coming home to.
Not
so
that
you
it really
can't-
matters,
yeah.
because 2.5 years after I left my job like a brave little soul, I probably would have been laid off from that job.
Oh,
No.
Just
yeah.
because they're downsizing, they're turning the job into something else.
Right.
They had 2,200 of us making 6 figures.
Yeah.
And they looked at it and said it would probably be better if like 50 people were doing this.
We don't need
Which
that many.
economically,
Yeah.
if you have a calculator, that technically checks out.
Yes, on the bottom line, looks a lot better with those numbers. Yeah.
It does. But no, and that's what it was. Like when I started with them in 2007, 2006, 2007, I moved to Seattle, and immediately they had like 50 of these sites that they were running. And in the course of the time that I left in 2013, there was only 7 to 8 of those sites.
Wow.
So they'd closed all of those small city ones
Yeah.
down, and kind of took all of us pilots that were in severe debt, that knew they could kind of just throw around the country at these big bases,
And you would have to do it.
and we'd
yeah.
have to do it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we're all in debt. And so I immediately realized that being a corporate drone was not what I wanted to be.
Right, yeah.
Being treated like a number, not getting okayed leave for a funeral because it was my brother-in-law's mother. And so it was just like strange stuff of just like,
Yeah.
I just don't want you in my life. Is that what I felt about Lockheed Martin?
Yeah.
And
It's not you.
Yeah, it's not you. It's
I
me.
don't want you in my
I've got to
life.
walk
Yeah,
away.
yeah, exactly.
Did those thoughts ever creep in, like as you were going through the journey? Like you have to be so present, and your planning has to be so good to do what you were doing. But when you were 330 days in, were you like, all right, I'm almost home?
Yeah.
Then what?
Well,
Yeah.
there was even a point, like if you look at my road trip, I basically did a crazy figure 8 throughout the U.S. to where I kind of went up to Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, down to Florida, and then across the southern coast into Arizona. And so I hit Arizona like somewhere in the middle of it, or not in the middle of it, but towards the end of it. So that was able. There was a couple times where I was able even to stay with family members and unload everything from my car,
I see.
get it cleaned out, because
right,
that
yeah.
was
And then you went up
Chaos.
the West Coast from there after Arizona.
yeah. So then I went up the West Coast, up through California, Washington, up to the bungee jumping adventure, and then back down through the Colorado, Utah, back into Arizona to finish it.
So
Nick-
what did
okay.
you? Yeah, did you feel like when you got to Arizona, were you like, oh, I'm going to end up being back here, and then what do I do? Or did you kind of know what you wanted to
Well,
do? Or?
that's what's crazy is there for a little bit. I wanted to kind of point it south once I got to Arizona at the very end and go down to South America. But that was like the same year that one of those dudes around my age had just gotten kidnapped and killed driving around Mexico doing the motorcycle trip.
Gotcha.
And so I was like, I don't know if me and a Prius are going to last on the roads any longer than
But
whoever's driving
Vancouver
a
sounds pretty
motorcycle.
nice all of a sudden. Yeah.
And then, at that point, I actually met a girl and moved to Des Moines, Iowa. And so that was one of the other weddings I went to was her brother's wedding in Michigan. We ended up meeting in Iowa, like friend of a friend, and we ended up hanging out in 11 to 12 different states.
Wait, so you met her at the wedding?
I met her. No, I just met her through a friend.
Okay.
when you were stopped in Iowa?
Yeah, when I was
Okay.
stopped in Iowa for one night.
Yeah.
And then I went with her to the other side of Iowa because she lived on the other side of Iowa as I was going towards North Dakota. But then we met in Wisconsin and Minnesota and then went to a wedding in
What, did she fly to
Michigan.
the places where you were going
She
to be?
just kind of drove up because she would have the weekends
there you go.
off and was right there in Iowa.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is so
So,
amazing.
well, but then I did go to Des Moines for only 32 days, and that was as long as it did last. So that was unfortunate.
okay.
Yeah.
Wait, after
Yeah,
your trip you went to Des Moines?
yeah,
or-
yeah, that's why my book is not a love story right now. I did find love. I moved to Des Moines,
But-
and
Yeah.
then we were just too much alike. We both still love each other. Very supportive of her as a human,
Yeah.
but we are just too much alike, and that's probably
That's
too
tough,
much
yeah.
madness. In one
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So back to what Nick was saying, because we talked about the food that you purchased, but you said you could make food in your
Yeah,
Prius?
so I basically just had my own like little cooker in there.
like a hot plate type
Like an
thing?
induction
Kind of
little,
like kind of the what am I even thinking of? I can't even think
like
of
a
the word.
Coleman, like a little.
Exactly, the Coleman.
Oh yeah, the little propane or
propane.
hibachi. Yeah,
Propane's
Yeah.
the word I was searching
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
Like it screws in.
Yeah, it screws in. So I got a little propane stove, a little
Okay.
cook set, and then I got all my like food stuff with my small spatula and
Yeah.
all that. My favorite thing that I would make that was super, super cheap that I would just end up with a bunch of this stuff because people would always give me bags of food. And sometimes they'd take me to like a grocery store and buy me a bunch of stuff. But usually they'd just be like, here, take, my peanut butter, my corn, my all the things that you donate to
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
homeless
Charity,
shelter,
yeah.
which is what I was. But I would end up with a lot of peanut butter and coconut oil and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would make ramen with coconut oil and siracha and peanut butter. And it was basically homeless pad thai.
Yeah, homeless pad thai. There
Yeah.
you go.
Is that what it's called?
Nice.
Almost pad thai?
Well, I
Homeless or
Almost-
homeless.
almost
Yeah,
or
almost
homeless.
homeless. I know
Pad
that
thai,
is
yeah.
that is, and well, that's not. And I am sort of writing a cookbook with my Eat the Enemy, and that's
yeah.
not even part of it. That's something different.
Talk about Eat the Enemy real quick.
All right. So Eat the Enemy, which sucks. I still haven't trademarked it. It's already been stolen in a certain sense, but it's basically the entire idea of eating whatever food your enemy eats.
Yep.
And it basically comes from the movie Spy Game, where Brad Pitt and Robert Redford
Okay.
are hanging out, and he needs Brad Pitt, the sniper, and he finds out that he's eating that food that the enemy eats. And that's when you learn, you smoke the cigarettes that the enemy smokes, so they don't smell the difference. And so when you go into an NFL game with me as a Cardinals fan, I will cook whatever team we're playing is responsible for or has created as a civilization. So like against the Eagles, I'm eating Philly cheesesteaks.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Against-
on the surface
It's so
fairly
cool.
easy.
Kayla works for the Cardinals. She's a huge fan as well. So
yeah.
she's eating this up.
Well,
literally.
by the way,
perfect.
the
Well, it's
Diamondbacks
like-
do this.
I know, and that's
Yeah.
what I started to see it at
Yeah.
stadiums.
Okay.
I started doing this when the Cardinals played the Steelers in the Super Bowl. So I started it during that playoff. And that's what I always felt got us to the Super Bowl that year.
the team would agree.
It wasn't Kurt Warner
Obviously.
and having 3,000-yard receivers. Had nothing to do with Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
It was how I was cooking food in Seattle.
Hey, how would you prepare a cardinal? How would you serve?
Sir Cardinal.
Can you eat cardinal?
Well, and
I
there
think you
is
would
a
just
process.
make Mexican food for Arizona.
Yeah.
Fair
A
enough.
lot of them, I do break it down with which animals you can consume.
Okay.
And really, the St. Louis Rams are about it.
Okay.
Because you can eat lamb.
You can eat. Okay,
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Most, like a good chunk of them are humans. So
Yeah, you can't eat
Yeah,
cowboys.
legally
Yeah.
still can't eat a human
You don't want to
here in
eat,
America.
you don't want to eat a packer.
Well,
You can't eat horse now in America.
You can.
So Colts, Broncos,
Okay.
Did
Chargers.
you do
are all-
that?
Yeah.
I still haven't eaten horse.
Yeah.
I have
They
had,
do it in France.
Yeah, I've had
France is
bear on a
big, yeah.
pizza.
Really?
Bear?
Yeah. So for the Chicago Bears, I made a bear pizza.
Oh,
Because I found bear that you could buy online when I was semi-wealthy. And I was like, how do I cook bear? And when I was like, a deep dish bear pizza is cuter than a button. And so that is exactly what I made.
Deep dish
A
bear
deep dish
pizza.
bear pizza. And I think that might have even been the night that the Cardinals lost to the Bears.
We are who they thought they were?
They are who
The
they
Dennis
thought
Green
they
game.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that pizza taste? Horrible?
I don't know. I'm probably responsible for us losing that match. It was the best bear pizza I'd had ever. It was good. It's
a little gamey.
Yeah. It was a
little gamey,
I remember I bought it from like, it was before, what is it, Blue Belly, Green Belly, Gold Belly?
Gold belly.
Gold Belly.
Yeah.
Before those things existed.
Right.
So it was right at like the internet. This was like in 2012. They were like kind of sending it with dry ice, maybe. And like, so yeah, like, so I got this bear meat just from some random place. But it worked. I didn't get sick.
That's great.
So I do a version of this, but when the bear, like, I'm a Bears fan.
Okay.
So when the Bears play the Saints, I make shrimp po' boys.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
try to cook a Saint.
Yeah. So that's what the majority,
Which is good.
There's very few of it where I am cooking the actual mascot.
yeah.
I do go into the actual.
Did you guys do the human feces for the Browns?
No, and we don't do dog either.
Or dog.
Dog.
Yeah.
At least
somebody-
I haven't.
Yeah,
But that's probably why the Cardinals have not won a Super Bowl. It's because
That's-
I'm
I
not
would say.
committed to my own.
You're
team.
not
would
committed.
say-
It's
I
the
know.
exact commitment.
I did. So what I did do was the Arizona Cardinals lost, or well, we sort of stole a title from the Pottsville Maroons back in 1925.
I don't remember that game.
I think I don't either. I was born in 1980, but it still digs in my craw because I ended up driving to Pottsville Maroons' old stadium, which is now a mall.
Yeah.
And I took an old like statue that I had from my youth playing football, and I made it into a replica 1925 trophy and buried it in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, to try
Obviously.
and reverse the curse
Take
Yeah.
that.
and get the Cardinals back
Wait,
to
how-
the promised
what?
land since we haven't been there since 1947.
Dedicated.
Yeah, that is
Fan of the week.
Hasn't helped.
You scripted that one out like part of the plan. Lobsters in Maine.
It really
see
was.
Tim in Vermont. Bury the goddamn trophy in Pottsville.
Find that old stadium and bury the trophy from my youth. Which now I want to go back and dig it back up. And I don't know, keep it or
Okay.
bury more things in it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So many
And,
options.
and then I have all my lucky rocks that I have from each of the stadiums that I went to.
That's cool.
And you went to
Cool.
every athletic stadium.
Every athletic stadium. So every NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, MLS.
Okay.
For college sports, I went to every major sports stadium. Went to every, tried to get on the football field, on the basketball court, and would try to kiss center court or try to get on the football field in the end zone and kiss the goalpost. And like I think
And
I
how much
kissed
were you
like
successful?
70 to 80 goalposts.
Wow. It tasted like mushroom coffee.
Yeah, 50, yeah. Did it at Navy.
You did it? Really?
Yeah, Navy, Oklahoma.
Are you,
There a couple of the big
sneaking on,
schools.
or are you like getting permission?
No, just sneaking on, and when you get caught, just like, act dumb and be like, I'm sorry, I'm a tourist taking pictures for my book.
I didn't
They'd
know
be
I couldn't
like-
do that.
Yeah, and
Yes.
they'd just be like, oh, don't worry.
All right, just leave now, though.
Yeah. I mean, they're Indiana Hoosiers. I was back. I saw their national titles they won with Bobby Knight, and while I was back there, I did see security like notice that I was in an area that I shouldn't be, and came like running after me. And that was one where I like ran out a side door and took off and was like, didn't run, but walked quickly and was like, all right, now it's time for me to see the football field and try and leave Bloomingdale.
Were you? I don't remember exactly. I mean, you got the full beard and the long hair now.
Yeah,
Is
so
that what
I
it
was
like then?
completely shaven and clean cut when I left.
Okay.
And then I just didn't touch it for the year.
Okay.
And so I kind of did finish about what I'm at now.
So when you're sneaking into basketball facilities, I mean, you
There were
look like you
certain
don't
times
belong.
at the end, I was blown away that they were just letting me wander around photographing all of these areas looking like I look. Because I don't look not homeless, is I guess a way you could say.
Let's cross each other out. Homeless.
Double negative.
Double negative.
Equals.
Yep.
I was trying to feel the most biblical way to say that. and
Is
I've
that your
seen
bio, your whatever?
should be.
I don't look not homeless.
Well, I do for my book. My brother-in-law really likes that I've started it with. By the 5th month, my beard started to scare small children,
Yeah.
That's the first
and
line.
that was and it was like there really was a moment where it was like, oh yeah, like this is like cooking in a way that's like, oh, people are nervous. I had a mohawk for a while, and that was the first time I'd really, I'm just being treated different. Because I am an outcast right now.
Oh, I bet.
How did you, like,
being
were there
bearded.
times where you were like, I got to take a shower, dude? Like,
No, and like Louisville, security kicked me off the football field and the basketball courts. Tampa, I was in Tampa. The Tampa Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers did not like me hanging around the stadium. They had a person on a cart that came out. But
I love
those
it
were
that
the
in
most
Louisville,
extreme.
like you got kicked out of one of the stadiums, but still tried to sneak into the other
I
one
did.
too. Yeah. Ballsy.
They'll never suspect I'll
Yeah.
do it again.
Yeah, they'll be looking for a different bearded man. Maybe not in a Prius.
Tie it up.
My Prius is quick when I put it in power mode.
Oh my god, that is.
But so it was like, in a lot of the stadiums, they have security. Like the big ones, Notre Dame football, Ohio State football, Michigan. Those ones were super tough to get into. But it really seemed like the South was much more hospitable. Yeah. Like, I was blown away by the colleges that I could just walk on the field.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, this is 2013.
Yeah.
We're living in a different era.
Yeah.
But we're not really.
Yeah.
So
did you
it
get
was.
to Alabama? Did you go? Did you get on there in Tuscaloosa?
I did not. That was another stadium that I got on the baseball field. I got on the basketball court there. But the football field, that was, yeah.
I have a weird fascination. We've done a lot of family road trips, and especially when our kids were looking at college, and I felt like I wanted to be on the field. As a grown man, I was like, how we went to Vanderbilt. I'm like, how can I climb this fence and just, I don't know why I wanted to stand on fake grass, but it just seems so cool.
It really all started, me and my buddy Jonathan Eubank, he called me when I was at that Lockheed Martin job, and he said, hey, I need to drive a U-Haul from Portland, Oregon to South Carolina. Could you do that with me? And I was like, hell yeah. And he was like,
awesome.
good. He's like, my wife said if anyone on this planet's crazy enough to do it, it's Cosmo.
Yeah.
And so we did that. And on that road trip, so this is before I left the job and everything.
Right.
He and I did it, and we started hitting some of the road. That was when it was like, hey, we're going by Boise. Let's go get on the Smurf turf.
Let's get on the blue turf.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And so we went and got on the Smurf turf,
Yep.
and it was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I am now addicted.
Yeah.
I now want to go everywhere. Because
wanna
now when
stand
I
up,
watch any game, professional or college, I'm watching it going, oh yeah, I know how to get into that stadium. That's where you go. That's where I was. I took a picture of a statue right over there. So I'll see like the
so
sweeping
cool.
different
Yeah.
things of all the stadium shots.
Yeah.
And I mean, Miami Dolphins was one that I couldn't even get past the parking lot. There were a couple that they're really tied down. Chicago Bears is the only field that I was able to see the turf from outside the stadium.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And that's pretty cool. Yeah, from the street, you can
Are
see
there like arches
field.
or something?
No, you can
look
just
there?
see a sliver.
Oh, okay.
But it's the only one where from the street you can look through it and actually see the playing field and a part of the goalpost.
Wow.
So it's like, shout out Bears.
Yeah.
I do hate you guys.
Yeah, shout out Bears. And they're
And eating a deep dish bear pizza.
Exactly. You guys are my favorite food to cuisine.
Yeah.
yes.
Legally.
Yeah.
Legally.
I have a couple. I have so many questions. I have more
Yeah.
questions now than when we started. But this
figured
goes
I wasn't
way
gonna
back.
be able to
When I knew
explain
you
much.
as a kid, you were Josh.
Yeah.
And now you're Cosmo.
So my
Talk
full
about
name
that.
is Joshua Cosmo Allen Steffen.
Okay.
And it's really my buddy Mickey Sarkett, who was my manager when I was working at Zuma's Woodfire Cafe in Prescott, which is no longer standing. There was another Josh. And my dad's friends all called me Cosmo. It did happen like when I was getting born, my parents were talking about it, and they were at a party, and someone suggested Cosmo as a name. And so they laughed, and they're like, we are not naming our child Cosmo.
Yeah.
And then they left the party and started talking about it, and they were like, well, shit. He's gonna be 20 in the year 2000. It might not be that weird. Like, maybe. Maybe. And then my mom didn't want it at all. My dad wanted it as my first name. So they compromised, and it's my middle name.
Yep.
And so at the restaurant with another Josh, they couldn't have Joshes coming up on tickets.
No.
And so they were like, let's just put you in as Cosmo. We'll
Yeah.
go from there. And then it was immediately like we go out to the bars from the restaurant, and it's like, this is our buddy Cosmo. And I remember the first time where I met someone and was like, my name is Cosmo, and shook their hand. And I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I just said that.
And when you were working in corporate
'Cause that
America,
wasn't like
when you were
year
in corporate
20.
America, was it? It was Cosmo.
Yeah, it's still Cosmo.
Yeah.
Well, in that I was Alpha Zulu. Because in that you have just a 2-letter identifier at Flight Service Station.
Oh, I
and that's
see.
because when you're on the
Alpha Zulu.
radio,
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
to basically
Okay.
when you're exchanging information, you have to do your identifier.
Right, yeah.
And so I did it as AZ to represent because I knew I was going to Seattle.
That's what's up.
That's what's up.
My initials were Alpha Zulu. Plus, I was like, Alpha and Zulu sound cool.
They do
Better,
sound
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And I couldn't be Juliet Charlie for Joshua Cosmo because then it'd be Jesus Christ, and that's
yeah,
too presumptuous.
no.
So
But also,
that was how I explained it.
Yes.
but there's also just no chance that like Steve White would do what you did.
Yeah.
It had to be Cosmo. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like there's
exactly.
no like if you just came in here and you're like, my name's Steve and I did this thing, I'd be like, fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, what's your real thing?
Yeah.
All right, it's Cosmo.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And during training, we had a very funny moment where the woman that was kind of babysitting us and taking care of us while we learned the information while we started the job comes in and goes, Cosmo? That's very unprofessional. And I said, well, it is my name. And she goes, oh. That was the last time Lockheed ever brought it up.
Yeah.
Like all the kids laughed, and it was like, that was funny.
You get canceled for calling.
I
calling
know.
somebody out on
I
that.
know. I identified as a Cosmo early.
Identified early.
We did have an astrological consultant on earlier, so we're learning. But on your bio, it does say Taurus, rising Gemini, Moon in Capricorn.
Well, I'd never had to write one of these bios, and I figure it was perfect if I really let you guys know.
'Cause that-
astrologically, what you're dealing with.
We knew exactly what to expect
Yeah.
because of that.
I
Yes.
You guys would be plugged in.
Yes, for sure.
You could do your own charts against mine.
You're an Enneagram 4, so now we definitely know how to talk to you. Yes.
And that was the same thing. I've had multiple people go, hey, have you read this Enneagram book? And at first I hadn't. But when 5 different people tell you, hey, I've read this book, you're a 4.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, not only is that important now, I'm going to put that on the next time I'm on a podcast. On the bio.
I am an
But
Enneagram.
it is also very ironic, though, that the first person that we ever had on this podcast is a teacher of Enneagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's an 8.
Enneagram.
She's an 8.
She's an 8.
She came right out as an 8. Yeah.
But also that
Did you
was
guys
not
find
a.
out what you are?
Not yet.
We have not yet.
Oh.
No,
My
yeah.
wife knows what I am because she went through it too.
Well,
but
the
I can't-
last time I
it's-
took a test online, I spent 22 minutes maybe clicking crap.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then got to the end, and it was you have to pay this, or we'll email you the results. And so
Yeah.
I don't have a place for you guys to go take an Enneagram test.
But,
I know.
but I
We have
thought,
a
but when I
percent-
read that, I thought. So you said you had not listened to any of the
Yeah,
pod- I'm like,
even funnier.
But,
You're poking
we
at
also
us.
had. He wasn't joking. We had an astrologer on.
And an Enneagram expert.
And
And an
Enneagram.
Enneagram. So I was like, oh, wow, he listened to it and knows that we had them people on.
That is hilarious. That's even more funny.
For so many reasons, we're 40
worked.
minutes in. This is my favorite podcast.
Well, as we
ever.
talked about when you sent this bio, I was like, this is why the podcast is called
Yeah.
People Do That.
Yeah.
And then the whole idea is there's the statement of people do that. There's the
Yeah.
question, people do that, and then the exclamation point that we get excited about
Oh, and
the
that's
shit
what
that
it
people
was.
do.
On my
Yeah.
road
Exactly.
trip was
That's
everyone
awesome.
just going, wait, what are you doing? And there's even this
Yeah.
like car commercial now where a guy's like, wait, you're telling me you quit your job and you're driving around the country? Oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I'm a commercial now. Like, and I've even, the funny thing is I've applied to the Prius Hall of Fame. Because you remember Prius had those commercials where they had the random Prius Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah, I remember
Just
those,
a random family got in it.
yeah.
And I wrote them just going, how am I not in your idiotic Prius Hall of Fame
Exactly.
when you put the Johnsons in there? They didn't do anything that I did.
Yeah. The thing that I thought of when I read your bio, too, is so I cook on TikTok, too.
Yeah.
There are so many people that just come up in my feed on TikTok that are like, I'm living out of this van, right? And they're making money off of doing it, right?
And that's the worst
And I'm
part,
like, this dude,
Living.
like,
I
he
wish
did
I
it.
could
Like,
get
he
the
actually
honesty,
did it.
but-
Like,
Yeah,
he
right.
did
It is
it.
funny, like, so I took
Yeah.
off in 2013, and van life culture was like, I'd go to a national park, there'd be like 2 to 3 other people doing what I was doing.
Right.
And I go to now a national park.
Yeah.
And if I went to the Grand Canyon now, I do this because I go to the Grand Canyon
Right.
probably about 5 times a year. I would guess I'll see 150 different people in van life structures that they are living
Wow.
in. Touring, like as soon as I went in 2013, because we talked about this a little bit with the Major League Baseball. I went
Right.
to 14 different games. I would meet, I don't know, 7 to 8 different people there doing the all 30 Major League
30s.
Baseball
Right.
parks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, like, I immediately learned in like 2013 that, there are a ton of people starting to do this.
Right.
And it's just every year gets more and more like something. And it is hilarious because I've had my Venmo on my website since I took off in 2012, and I've gotten 3 donations ever.
Really?
Yeah.
To contribute to what you're doing?
Yeah, and so like I do see these people that are funding their whole like van
Yeah.
life excursions, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I hate your guts. You guys are so much smarter than I am.
Yeah. I could have had $24 a day.
Yeah.
I'm just this like struggling artist going, nope, I'm gonna live on $20 a day and just.
So we saw your notepad. How else did you document? Were you said pictures? Were you
Yeah,
taking?
so
Do you
that was
have
a big thing. That was
Yeah.
what I guess we
Yeah.
never really got
Yeah.
to with
Yeah.
the books. Was I've kind of taken a sidetrack from the books because I've made more money now from photography.
From photography. Okay.
So
okay.
just that 1 year on the road, I took 70,000 pictures.
oh my
Oh
goodness.
my gosh.
And it was really like 120,000 pictures, but I
Okay.
deleted it down to 70,000.
Wow.
And then like I probably took 500,000 over the course of like 5 to 6 years after that, because I'm still trying to bang out the 425 national parks, and right now I'm 285, and it's just like I don't know, 30 of those are in Alaska, and that's like an entire thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to fly to. Luckily, I'm a pilot. So, but still, like, even me having my pilot's license, that would cost me $40,000. I would
Right.
guess.
How are you making
Yeah.
money off of photography, though?
Basically, just doing it on my own. I wish I had a better system on my website, but really, I'm just allergic to capitalism, is what I've learned.
Yeah.
At age 43.
That's why you went swimming.
Yeah, that's why I'm swimming in bodies of water.
Swimmers against capitalism.
That's it.
Yeah, I swam so hard in all the bodies of water that I fought capitalism too hard. But no, like I do wish that I could make more on it. But basically, I just did it it kind of started as COVID, the first art sale I had. And so I just put an online COVID special because like COVID was happening and I had all this like stuff to print a bunch of my photography
Right, yeah.
and decided to do an online COVID art gallery. and sold some that way.
Okay. Cool.
And then other than that, it's just been friends that are like, hey, we really do want some of your art. Because it was, I mean, I told you about the 280 museums and stuff. There was a moment there where it was like, oh, okay, I am now learning how to take a better photograph. I am seeing what it takes to like have this in it.
Yeah.
Like, not to mention I'm taking just a ridiculous amount of photos from everything.
Right.
That I definitely got better at all
Yeah.
aspects of photography. And I got myself a better camera now. But I don't know. I've definitely picked all of the things that don't make money. Because I'm originally a poet. I'm also really good as a writer and a photographer.
Yes.
In a moment right now where everyone is a photographer
Yeah.
and everyone is basically a writer.
Do you do any clay, like clay pots?
I did.
I could add that to the repertoire.
I know. I want to kind of dedicate more hours of my day to honing another skill that pays absolutely nothing.
Paint some ducks. Painting some ducks.
Really,
really
the
over well.
poetry thing's the worst. Like, the only reason I'm trying to write novels is I love poetry, and I've had a publisher say, your writing's amazing. No one on this planet outside of Left Eye can sell poetry. Like, or was it Chili? One of TLC sold poetry.
Still with us.
Yes.
We
Yeah,
lost
it
one.
was
My left eye.
We
Yeah,
lost
Left Eye.
got
Yeah,
it.
you're right. Left Eye burned the house down.
That's right.
Chili was the poet.
Yeah.
Left Eye was with
Jewel. Jewel
Andre
can
Wright.
also
There you
sell
go. There's a
that's right.
poet. There
And
you
then
go.
Maya Angelou, but she's also not living.
Yeah.
Do you write
So
music?
really, it's just Jewel.
Yeah.
Can the poems be music?
Yeah,
or-
I do. I do, but I don't play any instrument,
Right.
and so that's
And
a
and most
self-referral.
musicians aren't making any money either.
Yeah, and I
So,
know it's like like I could be a really good musician.
Couldn't you just be like a private, like, where do you live?
Well, I don't know. I've technically been
Best
homeless
answer
since
yet.
2013. Like, is
that-
officially
wait,
the
ser-
answer.
what?
I mean,
You don't have-
yeah.
Really?
When I sent you the whole 30 jobs for 30 days that I'm doing, part of that is I'm pet sitting.
Oh yeah, let's
And
talk
so,
about
yeah,
this.
so I'm pet sitting from Prescott to Phoenix, right now in Scottsdale. And I will basically live at a person's house, get paid to live there, and then move on to the next house. And if I have it in my calendar right, perfect. If not, I'll go on a road trip to a national park and take some photographs. And I've now been doing that for multiple years successfully because a lot of those 30 jobs for 30 days, I kind of figured out a way to be like, everyone says like, hey, you've never worked until you've been a server. And I was a server for 7 years.
Yeah.
And then I was a cook. And it was like, oh, this is a little different. And then I was a farmer. And it was like, oh, that is the apex of, hey, you want a hard job that doesn't pay anything?
Go
Strap
do
on
that.
farming for a bit. Yeah. See how many farmers are
How
around
long did you
these
do that?
days.
How long were you a farmer for?
So I was a weed farmer, or technically it was a Delta 8 THC farm in Texas, and I only did that for about 120 days. Okay, that one I didn't get paid.
Oh,
That was
Free
trade
weed.
and product.
Yeah, no, I didn't even get paid in weed because we lost all that in a drought.
So you're a bad farmer.
Yeah, that was one that I knew I was getting in on the ground floor where I could be highly lucrative or not lucrative at all, and
Yeah.
it was the later. But then the other one, I lived in Clarkdale, right down the road from Tuesday Goot, or right at the foot of Tuesday Goot.
Yeah.
And that I worked at that farm for almost a year, and that was with 98 chickens, 10 heads of cattle. And that one, I was the head farmer.
And were you getting paid, or were you just having free living?
No, that one I was getting paid, but
Okay.
I also had to pay for the farmhouse that I was living in.
Okay.
And so it was
Yeah.
atrociously low.
Was there a farmer's daughter or anything? No benefits?
No
okay.
benefits, yeah.
Damn.
I was the only farmer, and I don't have a daughter. And that would be incest.
So let me cross off that question.
So if I wanted to send you a piece of mail, where would I send that?
Well, my parents
Okay.
control some of my stuff.
You got some of that,
like
okay.
I have a mailing
All right.
address that
All right.
You got
I can
home
get
base.
stuff to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But they definitely
But you
want
don't-
me out of the house at age 43 as much as feasible. And so this kind of works out. Because I can't afford rent nearly anywhere. I definitely can't afford it in my hometown of Prescott.
No.
It's just, it's crazy what it's become.
Yep.
How would you say, like, how did that adventure change you? Like besides just growing more hair on your entire body, like how did that change you? Like just your perspective on life.
I wasn't as bear-like looking.
Yeah, easy taking.
Yeah. And so that immediately was something. And so I kind of noticed that and was chiseled into a different human just out the gate. It was just like, oh, this is just. Right. And then it was just swimming in a body of water and doing all that stuff. It just turned into, I don't know, like partly necessity because it was my shower. Like the other part of it was I had a Planet Fitness membership, and that was so that I had a place that I could shower.
There you go.
And I don't know if you guys know this about Planet Fitness. I don't know if they still do it. But when I was there, it made no sense from a gym standpoint. But the second Tuesday of every month, they give you free pizza. And the third Wednesday of every month, they give you free bagels. And as much as you wanted.
And
I would
mapped out?
Yeah, and I would just look at it, and every second Tuesday, I'd roll in and I would eat an entire pizza. And I would just go into the gym and get a pizza and eat the pizza there, and then not even work out, maybe take a shower from eating a pizza.
I'm in a fever dream right now.
Yeah, Planet
no
Fitness,
doubt.
that was partly how I ate, was I got free pizza from Planet Fitness a couple times a month.
And
They've since, there's a reason they don't offer that.
Well, everything about what I was doing was just like, this shouldn't exist, and I'm probably going to make it not exist. It's like when you were participating in like the whole, back in the day when Costco, you could like have an electronical equipment and then just take it in after a year.
Oh,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they
yeah.
just give you a free one.
Yeah.
And it was just like, everyone knew, it was like, why is this happening? But this is the coolest thing ever.
Yes.
You could buy a digital camera in like 1998, and they just upgrade it every other year.
Oh my God.
so weird.
There's a guy doing this on Amazon right now, by the
Really?
way, because Amazon's policy was 365 days. You have to return anything, and you just have to go into Kohl's, and like Kohl's won't say anything.
Right.
So you just go in there, and he's like, "Yeah, I spent like the same $300, and I've had my wardrobe for 11 years.
Just getting upgraded.
Just every year he gets a new wardrobe,
And they have the
and then
hottest
just goes
line.
and gets it refunded.
Oh my God.
And then he goes, "No, I'll just take the Amazon credit," and then just buys new shit,
new stuff.
underwear, socks, shoes, shirts, like. And now Amazon's like trying to figure out, how do we alter that return policy that people
That
aren't
makes
basically
sense.
doing?
Cosmo picked up his pen. He's taking notes on that.
In '99, at Best Buy, I did the thing with the computer, where it was a 90-day same as cash take back, and I bought a $2,200 computer in '99, which is absurd. And the whole time I knew I was never going to keep it.
Yeah.
But I got an external hard drive. And then Napster happened, and so I was around for Napster with this $2,200 computer that I knew I was taking back, and an external hard drive that I filled up with like 110 gigabytes with free music from Napster.
Yeah.
And then I got the NASCAR game on your computer, and maybe like a Madden.
And then
or
did you
FIFA.
return it?
And then I returned it 90 days later, and they were immediately like, "You will never buy from this Best Buy again." And I was like, it doesn't matter. I can't afford Best Buy.
You're right. I'm going that way.
There's two of us.
I don't even know where I am.
Where's the Circuit City?
Is Radio Shack still around?
All right, so I got one. If you don't, I'll
No,
jump in.
go ahead.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
you seem to have you had a focus with your trip. It was really about being like in tune with it, right? And you had your own set of rules. You said you were a movie fan, and so what about like the social? What was your connection to the world? Like, I mean, you had your phone obviously with you, right?
Yeah.
But were you trying to stay disconnected, or was it?
No, so for the most part, like I said, I was in the national parks a ton.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, so I would say
Yeah.
almost half of almost every day.
Okay.
I was out of connection. I was in a forest, and I was disconnected.
Disconnected.
From the world.
Okay.
If you saw my fantasy football standings in that year,
Yeah.
that would reflect how disconnected.
He hasn't
I
made
was.
any moves.
Everything. Yeah, I think that was the only year I took last place in one of them, like dead last.
Yeah.
But no, I was definitely.
Okay.
I only went to Gravity, the movie Gravity in Connecticut.
All right.
So that was the only
only
film
movie
I
you
saw
saw.
at a
All
theater.
right. How about with driving? Are we listening to music? Are you listening to?
That was the beginning of the podcast era.
Okay,
And
okay.
so I definitely split it half music because I also had, I had a couple different things. I had a audio book. I went to the library and took a bunch of audiobooks and downloaded them onto my iPod. And I had an audio book for an author from every state. And so I listened to a book written by someone in that area, hopefully about that area.
Right?
Dude,
Yeah.
by the way, I know
The discipline.
if you hate capitalism, I get it. But do you realize that you could just be planning people's shit?
I know. And I do. When people go on a road trip or any kind of an anything, they'll be like, hey, where do I go in Miami?
Calling
dog?
you next.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I can at least put out something that's fairly legit because I've also just been working on this with my maps of the stuff that I missed. Because that's the funniest part. With everything I've done, my bucket list is longer than anyone's.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. Because I start researching it and it's like, oh, okay, what have I not seen in this group?
Yeah.
And then I'll just all of a sudden I found 7 Missouri swimming holes that I missed. It's just like, I know. So I'm looking at some of these maps going, God, I got to go to Missouri and swim in 7 different bodies of water because I missed them all.
So along that same line, what would be some of the biggest regrets? I mean, if you put your own budget, this was all you doing this to yourself, right?
Well, in all truth, I probably would have doubled it up. I would have just went another year.
Just kept going.
Yeah, I would have
Slowed
banged out a second year.
Slow down the pace
And then
so you could hit
slow
more.
down, because I did notice my finances were super expensive at the beginning, and there was a moment there where I went 40 days, 40 nights of not spending $1.
Wow.
And just living off of what I had been given or whatever.
Okay.
And then gas was the only thing I could spend money on.
You banked 800 there.
Yeah. So I mean, thank you. And it was like, so I got super good at the end, and I did know that if I could do this more, I could do it. And that's why it kind of did turn into. I turned it into basically over the next 8 years. I went on, I guess, what is it, 1,000 days. So I added almost 700 because I did a second road trip not on Facebook, where I was posting every day.
Yeah.
This is where I'm at. I did one kind of silently.
If you didn't post it, did it even happen? I mean, it didn't even happen.
Yeah, and that's it was funny. It was that 13, 14 was also like I went to that Bonnaroo Music Festival in Tennessee. It's basically Coachella in Tennessee. And it's 4 days. I saw Paul McCartney, Elton John. I saw 202 different musical acts in the 2 years that I went. But I could tell from 2013 to 2014, that was when America got into the phone in the bad way. That's when it was whipping it out at concerts.
Yeah.
Like I remember in 13, like people would take a picture and then that's it. Because like no one had the Wi-Fi to where it was connecting out there.
Yeah.
And then in 14, I just remember everyone just watching it through their phone.
Yeah.
And it turned in, and it was funny too, because here I am driving around America, taking a picture in front of everything.
Yeah.
Like going to, like I had to wait for someone to take a picture at the Breaking Bad house so that I could take a picture. And after I took a picture, I saw 2 more cars pull up. And then it was like, I'm just like part of the problem. Like, I had to wait for a girl at the Selena Motel in Corpus Christi where she got shot because I wanted to go take a picture where Selena got shot. And I have to wait for someone who's
On the
doing the
list.
same.
Yeah.
So it was
Wow.
like, that's pretty
They're
creepy.
ruining it.
I bet she doesn't
But
have. She doesn't have those rules though. She spent $25
Yeah,
a day.
that
Yeah.
girl's
I
spending
bet you went to
money
Outback before this.
loosey goosey. Yeah, you're
Where'd
just
you
eating at
swim?
corporate restaurants. You've been to PF Chang's before. Yeah,
You and your van.
van life.
Van
It's so
life,
weak.
whatever.
Prius life's where it's at.
I was flying into the airport.
Well, there's a sense of jealousy, I think, because I am a pilot. All my friends are pilots,
Yeah.
and all I heard was them going on like trips.
Yeah.
And just hearing those stories mixed with the fact that I'm a Xennial. I was born in 1980, and all of the baby boomers, all they talked about ever was, I just wish I would have traveled more.
Right.
And so it was like, all right, I just hear everyone saying, I hate my job the most.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is drive around and live in a car. And it was like, I'm going to do that.
I feel
That's
like
crazy. I love it.
when you like learn about artists, like I remember as a kid, or you go like a lot of them like do these amazing things and they never get paid for it. They never see it in their lifetime. Like I feel like we're sitting with.
Moby
I hope
Dick.
it's appreciated
I know,
in
I
your
hope so
lifetime.
too, 'cause
But like I feel
Herman
like what your
Melville
life is so
and Moby
special of
Dick
what you're doing. Yeah.
never was successful.
And painters and like you don't. They didn't get famous until it
Well,
was
that's
too late,
always the fun joke about being a poet. was if you want to be a poet, be a poet. You'll be famous for what is it? You'll be famous for 100 people for a little bit, and then 100 years from now, only 10 people will care.
Ooh.
Deep.
And you won't make any money.
Yes, and you won't make
And
any money.
AI will take your poem and put it next to
yeah.
a
Well,
picture of somebody else.
That's the worst. Is like
yeah.
every job's getting stolen from us anyways because we're
Right.
trying to ship it overseas.
Right.
We're trying to outsource all working as it is.
Or use
And so
AI
the one thing
for
we
it,
had
or,
was writing and being creative.
Right.
And now that we have AI, it's like great. Like
Yeah.
the other day, I saw a picture that was like, "Oh, I could never take that," and then I found out it was AI, and it was like, "Oh, great!"
You're right.
You're right. I never can do that.
What was the feeling like when did you go to your parents' house when you were done? Like you pulled in.
Oh yeah, and they
Like,
were.
Did you just
yeah,
pull up and then like hit the
Oh, I
thing
had
and
a
go?
party. I had
right.
a party with like 40 friends were there that welcomed me back with a sign.
Nice.
That girlfriend from Des Moines flew in. And so they had a little get together on April Fool's Day, and I drove into that. And it
So that was
funny.
pretty cool.
It was awesome
Yeah.
because I did have a lot of friends that were like, "Dude, we didn't really think you were serious, or we thought you'd give it up after like 12 days."
Yeah.
And it was like, it was nuts.
And how did that party go? Like, was it like you go get a beer and then you sit down and so how was it?
Yeah. Well, that's also my
aunt?
curse.
Yeah.
My curse is having to kind of tell the story to people after people.
Yeah.
And that was why on that road trip, there were times when I had a house to stay at and I just didn't call someone because it was like, I don't want to be like, all right, so I'm doing this and where are you going after that? And what's the coolest thing you've seen? And it did get into a thing where it was like, shit, I'm telling the story all the time. And it is.
I do remember when you came to Vermont, just sitting around the table that night, like it was, we would rented a house and the whole family was just gathered around Cosmo. And he's just
And
like,
that was right after I'd met the girl.
oh yeah,
So
that's
all
right.
the girls were super into the girl
Oh yeah,
love
that's
story.
right.
Yeah.
The love story.
It was like
Prius
this-
love story.
We're at a wedding and it's a love story.
That's
Yeah.
right. I remember that. Yes.
If this Prius is a rockin', don't come a knockin'.
And that's why it's a fake story. None of that stuff's gonna be in there.
That's right.
Do you
Fake
still have the Prius?
Character, I do.
Yeah.
And so that's what. Yeah. So it did just this past winter. I blew the head gasket, and that was at 202,000 miles. And I took it in, and they originally quoted me. It was like $6,000 for an engine that's 125,000 miles on it.
Wow.
And this was in November last year in Portland, which was, I guess, the worst time on the planet Earth to buy a used car.
Yes.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yes.
For some reason, yeah.
It's your luck.
So,
yes.
And so they immediately quoted me that, and I laughed, and I was like, "Well, I'm not doing that." And then I researched, and they weren't gonna pay me for the car, which I think belongs in a museum.
Yeah.
They were gonna
Exactly.
charge me to take it, and it was just like, this I can't do this.
You're right.
And so I took a super irresponsible loan out to refix the engine, and so now she's back to about 130,000 miles.
Wow.
So yeah, she kind of like turned back the clock
Yeah.
about 4 years.
I feel like it's like,
But-
you know, well, we had it happen when I was a kid. Like when you have a dog that's about ready to die, but then something happens and a $6,000 surgery maybe you could get another year or two, and it's like a
and that's what
dilemma.
I'm already.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm
yeah.
so pot committed to this stupid thing. Like I'm not giving up a car. I'm giving up a house.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole thing.
And the memories
And
the,
so that doesn't
nostalgia.
help the negotiating tactics I have with getting rid of that beautiful crap out there. Because
Falcor.
it is a 10-year-old Prius that if you know anything about Prius, mice love it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess there's the warm battery. It's very
They like to
easy to
nestle?
get into it, so I have a mice problem from time to time that I deal with. The fun things is there's hacks online that you can look up on how to like mouse proof.
Well,
Prius.
hold on now. I fancy myself a little bit of a capitalist. If you're pet sitting and they have a snake,
You're
you
not-
could bring the food.
Or I could just start eating the mice.
Eating
Yeah.
mice, yes.
Yeah, that's
Why
just
not?
shaving off days of my money. That's not bad. I could go to more games.
Little ratatouille.
Yeah, very fun Ratatouille.
I
they
feel
didn't
like
eat the
the thing that's like interesting to me is, and
The thing.
a thing. Like like I think it's a flaw now, but I mean we grew up and it's like set goals, be goal oriented, and like I'm driven by that in a lot of ways. But like for your situation right now, like it kind of gives me anxiety to think of like you're just gonna go house sitting and then like just keep living life. And I'm not talking it down because there's a book called A Life Worth Living. I don't know if you read that. That's absolutely amazing. And it made me think I'm living my life not all wrong, but wrong in a lot of ways to just focus on being happy and healthy all the time. There's so much life out there that's beyond just happy and healthy. And you're actually doing it. So like, I guess my question is like just your life right now, like what's the plan? Like, I want to follow it. I want it to be like a documentary. Like, what's next?
So I'm trying not to be a pet sitter. I'm trying just to be a writer. The biggest reason I'm a pet sitter is that I have a place to live, and while I'm there, I can write.
Right.
And so for me, it's perfect. I can work on my photography and my writing, or just watching movies.
Yeah.
But just like doing that, and like so, I do want to write still. Yeah. That's forever my passion.
Have you talked to like like I feel like I want this to happen.
I know,
so bad.
right?
Yeah, and I've talked to some, and they still want the finished product, and I've got the 2 different books that are in different. One, I want it to be an online book that you decide your own level of involvement. Yeah. The other one's just not ready. Okay. And so that is the bummer because I do feel like I'm already that old author that's like, I'm working on this thing that's just about done. And so that's why I do bring up Moby Dick, is that it is. Because it is excruciatingly long. It keeps like kind of changing.
Right.
Like even how I wrote it and what it was even about.
Right.
Because it is very much focused on the fact that as Americans and as humans, we definitely have this very fun battle with reality and fantasy.
Yeah.
You definitely learn that when you go to these national parks and you learn about a place where we killed 110 Native Americans. And it's like, oh, crap, we barely learned about this in school.
Right.
And so there is just like a different line between like what documentaries tell you and what's based on a true story and all of that stuff.
Right.
And so that's why I then turned it into a book that has nothing to do with me while I tell my story.
I see.
Is that I do want to showcase that because we are dealing, and then obviously during my whole writing of it, we had the whole Trump with fake news, and so that added a third little hurdle into the whole occasion.
Right.
But do you want to sell it?
I do. I definitely do. I want to make money. I don't hate capitalism, even though I have declared war on it. And
by swimming in Biloxi.
I don't know. I was born in 1980, and I'm definitely of like the first generation where it's like, hey, guess what? Retirements are done. You guys aren't a part of that.
Right.
I was around for in college. They started to introduce credit card companies on campus. Where it was just like, hey, these kids are 18. Let's sign them up for a credit card when they can't even rent a car. Yeah. And so, like, I don't know. I've just I felt that I lived in a place where minimum wage purchasing power peaked in 1978. It's just been downhill since then.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the CEO pay. From the moment I was born, it was 30-1. Then around the time I entered the workforce when I was like 15, it was like 117-1. Now it's 300-1.
300
yeah.
1.
And it's just like you look at it, and it's like you look at our production. We're like right now at 256% producing beyond what we were when I was born. So we're at an all-time high of just making money, and yet, like, nothing has changed.
None of
the
us.
minimum wage hasn't barely changed since I started working when I was 15.
Right.
And I'm 40-3.
Right.
All the retirement, like I said, Lockheed Martin didn't have a retirement. They had a 401k that I participated in.
Yep.
But I definitely noticed that it's like, hey, we're getting left behind. And I kind of think this whole system's crumbling anyways.
Right.
And so there was a part of me that was like, I'm going to go out there and see what it's like.
Right.
And I don't know, I hear about a bridge falling in Minneapolis. And it's like, of course that's happening. Our entire infrastructure is based on the New Deal. And that's turning 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
Right.
So it is like everything you look at. Like, I don't understand how we're at a point now where, what is it, 17 million homes sit vacant every night? Like, no one can afford a home because people are buying all these homes and turning them into Airbnbs. And that's great if it works for you.
Right.
But for people that can't live, we have a homeless problem that is the biggest anyone's ever seen. Like,
And we have homes that are vacant, and we have homeless on the street.
I do think it's hilarious, and I think when aliens do finally come over and take over, they're just gonna be like, "You guys at the end, you guys are the silliest. You had all these silly homes and there's all these people living on the street, and the only reason we have crime is because you have a difference in people making a ton of money and people not making money.
Right.
And all we do is keep spreading that out, going, God, I hope crime doesn't start."
Yeah.
So none of it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I guess living in a Prius and going to something I wanted to go to every day would at least contribute to my own happiness and like my own well-being, because I was making that 6 figures. I was eating sushi 3 to 4 times a week. I loved it. Awesome paycheck, but I hated it.
When the alarm went off in the morning, you went, fuck, not again.
Every time.
Yeah.
Like there's a ding that goes in your ear when you get a call, and I would have nightmares of that ding.
Were you also?
I cried on
like, what were
position
you
once a
doing,
month.
though?
You what?
No shit. Yeah.
I cried on position once a month.
Yeah.
I was a flight service station specialist. So what I was doing was I was relaying clearances to certain airlines at various airports where they couldn't talk to center or tower.
Did you enjoy going like, all right, I'm going to make sure you're safe here?
I enjoyed
like,
it for the first 6 to 7 months as I was learning how to do it. And then it immediately became apparent that they were trying to close us all down and move us to different cities.
So it wasn't about the actual task of the job.
No, because they
It
all
was
changed it.
seeing the corporate
Because it was
environment
all about
around.
numbers. And they immediately were like, hey, we know how to make some money here.
Yes.
And it was, they brought the bigwigs in, and you could immediately tell that everything was changing. And it was just like, oh, okay, this is what this feels like.
Yeah.
And we brought in a union and fought them. And I was a union paying member for 5 of the 6 years that I was there, and I love my union.
Right.
But yeah, I was just immediately like, oh, this is not,
Yeah.
I don't want to work for this kind of a company.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, Lockheed's one of the worst ones on the planet.
Right.
All they do is
I
build
mean,
bombs.
well, but if you just have to. When a war breaks out somewhere, go look at what stocks go up.
Yes.
Those companies are usually the root of the
Those aren't the people like with the fast pass to heaven.
Northrop, Northrop, and all of those companies that are they're usually government contractors, right? That they're in BAE, like all of these companies that are associated with that. The first bomb drops, those stocks go nuts. The thing that's crazy right now is because of what's happening in the Middle East, our committee in the United States that oversees this stuff, it's literally called the Oversight Committee. 3 of those people bought stock in Northrop and Lockheed and those companies.
Yeah.
That's
And guess what? In the last 20 days, those companies are up 30% in their stock.
God.
It's always when
They
you
bought
look
the
at
shit
where they
before
go.
the first bomb ever went off.
They got really lucky.
It was great luck. Well, did you guys hear about Arizona? We did win one. Because Arizona was La Paz County, had all of that land that Saudi Arabian companies were using to grow alfalfa.
Alfalfa,
To cut the alfalfa, ship it back to Saudi Arabia. And we were just losing groundwater.
Right. Yeah.
We won that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Got one.
Win one for the little guys.
Pour one out.
We'll be out of water in 8 years instead of 6.
Exactly.
Fuck yeah.
We cut that down just a little bit. And now the Saudi Arabians need to find a way to, feed their animals.
Right.
Not through Arizona. But when you find out stuff like that's happening, it's just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
We're losing groundwater to what?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
And just the thing, I replaced my backyard small patch of grass with turf and thought that was going to make a difference.
You were making a
I thought I was saving our planet.
I've owned 3 houses. I've owned 3 houses. The first order of business is getting rid of the grass at all.
Yes. Good. Doing your part. So you mentioned something, a little glimpse, and you said when the aliens come here. When they come back, or when they, or are we even
Or when
gonna
they
get
make their
out?
way through the Cosmo.
Yes.
They keep telling us more and more. The funny thing for me is I think that we're kind of like a national park, and we're just getting like the teenage aliens that are stealing their parents like crap. and going out joyriding. So we're getting all the dumb teenage aliens that are lost going, hey, let's go joyriding. We'll go to Earth.
Let's go to Earth.
Yeah. And so that's
tell your
what
mom.
Roswell was just a bunch of teenagers out on a joyride.
Screwing around. Didn't even have their license yet. Yeah.
And now that like the government's like, oh, hey, about those aliens. Yeah, that's real.
That's right.
And then we just were like, but wait, what is Kim Kardashian and Kanye doing?
Yes.
Right.
That's a little more important than this alien topic.
Let's focus
Which
on
it is,
that.
because I had a book about an alien abduction, but I was always on the back burner because it was like, well, this is too crazy of a book.
Yeah.
Now it's just
Now
like
it's based on real events.
Now it's more real than my real book about my travels.
So they're out there, is what you're saying.
Oh, I guess so. And that's just from our government. I saw something weird when I did do the Grand Canyon 6-day float. Where you do the 187 miles on the Colorado River.
Yeah.
Wait. What is it?
187 miles down the Colorado River through the entire Grand Canyon.
Is there a 2-day float? Can we do a 2-day float?
Well, there's the real one you should do that I didn't was like a 20-day, and that's where you have to actually paddle through everything. We were on like one of those big like raft deals to where you're going through the rapids, but then you kind of like motorboat through some stuff.
I've heard that.
Wow.
Amazing. So that
It's the best. You have little cots that you take out. So the last day I slept on actual dried lava. Like put my cot on lava because I'm just like I want to sleep on lava tonight. It's what's happening.
Is there? But you haven't slept under lava before.
You haven't slept on lava. You don't live. It's the hottest.
You have a pension. You have a pension. But have you slept on the lava?
You might not be homeless.
By the way, you're never gonna spend a dime of it because you're gonna have a fucking heart attack. And I slept on goddamn lava.
That's true.
That is my always go-to. But I was saying, when I was at the Grand Canyon, I did see some lights that was like, oh, okay, I'm a pilot, and I know some things, and I don't know what that was.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when the government comes out and says, yeah, that stuff's all probably real, that's the time, I guess, when I'll start trusting the government.
Yeah.
I don't think they're lying about that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Is there any
I don't know. I mean,
topics
I
that
feel
we
like
have?
know.
did we just get down to the water level of the iceberg? Like, is there so much more underneath?
I mean, I think when he's either published his book or is dog sitting a golden doodle in Arcadia next time, we are going to have him back and just do a whole new set of questions.
I love
probably
that.
sports related.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have so many things because I'm fascinated. Like,
I have
of
some
this,
fun sports things that I do because on it,
Okay, yeah.
I saw
Let's
the
do
Red
it.
Sox
Let's do it.
clinch
I'm not
the
going
AL
anywhere.
East. And so I went to the Red Sox Toronto Blue Jays game. We sat on the monster to start, then moved down.
Who's we?
Me and some friends. This was the girlfriend from Des Moines' friends who live in Boston and are diehard, actually live in Iowa, but are diehard Boston fans. And so we walked down because they were like, hey, once they win the pennant, they're going to come out. And sure enough, they came out. They sprayed champagne in my beer.
Oh my
Like me and David Ortiz like locked eyes. Like Pedroia was the one that sprayed my beard with beer. And it was just like that was amazing.
Oh my God.
I saw
We gotta
Justin Verlander
Yeah.
take a no-hitter in Detroit to the 7th inning, which was the furthest I'd ever seen a no-hitter. Before the road trip, I was at the Nationals game when was it Josh Donaldson hit 2 grand slams in one game, which has been done less than a perfect game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I saw Alex Ovechkin score 2 goals and get an assist. That was my first ever NHL game.
Where was that at?
That was at the Washington Capitals.
Okay.
In DC.
Yeah.
And then
Good run.
I know. And then you said the Mets.
Yeah.
I caught a T-shirt, Cannon Mets T-shirt at a Mets match.
There
Wow.
you go. There you go.
Which was the first time I'd ever caught a T-shirt Cannon T-shirt.
Mark that one off the bucket list.
Yeah. Well, when I marked that one off,
Yeah.
that was like
That's
tears.
probably the one cool thing we've both done. Got a T-shirt from the. I'm starting there.
That was when I went to see the Mets. So I played baseball in college, and when I played a summer in Danbury, Connecticut, and we went to Shea.
Oh, yeah.
One of the guys had the conversion van, and we load up tons of 30 racks in there of beers, drank all the way to Shea Stadium. I brought my glove, and they didn't know it. I had it in the back of the van. We got out of the van. I throw my glove on. We're 8 of us are there. You fucking brought your glove? Like, what do you do? Bring in your glove. I'm like, watch.
I would have said that.
I'm like, yeah, bitch, watch. Like, and I brought it into the, dude, you're bringing it into the game? And I'm like, yeah, I'm bringing it into the game. Smoltz is pitching to John Olerud, fists one off. We're sitting above third base, about in between third base and left field. We're sitting right at me.
Nice.
No way.
And we're all sitting there, yeah, bitch, what now? What now?
That is amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I've never caught a foul ball at a game.
I'm on
Never.
Sports Center at a Baltimore Orioles game. I'll send you that clip with my bungee jumping clip. They hit a leadoff home run at an Orioles game I was at. And I kind of went for it, but then I realized I wasn't going to get it. So I waited for like the ricochet. And then it just bounced off the wrong way. But you can see me like go like this with my beard. And
that game was
Camden
on.
Yards.
That game was the game that I caught the foul ball was a TBS game.
Yeah.
And one of our coaches was actually met us at the game. And the next day we're all sitting around playing spades in the locker room. And the phone on the wall rings, like we had in the locker room, and they say like, yeah, Coach Shane there, yeah, whatever. Oh, Coach Shane gets on. It's his brother in Arizona. He was actually a coach in Arizona, and I look at Shane over there. It's like everyone was always on the phone, and Shane goes, yeah, he's a left-handed pitcher on our team. My brother just asked me, hey, were you with the fat lefty at the Mets game?
He was going to guess first baseman. Yeah.
So catching a foul, you never caught a foul ball. So you were on the Sports Center clip, but my question is, you said there's so many things left on the bucket list.
Yeah.
Give us like a couple.
a lot of ghost towns. Like now that I'm very much a photographer, I got super into
New
researching
Orleans?
all of ghost towns. Well, it's a lot of like in New Orleans, I haven't been to it, but in New Orleans there's a Six Flags.
Yes.
That is no longer there.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so a lot of like abandoned roller coaster parks is what my list is
You
now.
mean things that were built and now are
Yes.
vacated.
Abandoned.
You don't
Yeah.
mean like where there are spirits.
So no.
Okay.
Well, I mean, sort of.
Yeah.
I do went to some spirit places
Mixing a
too.
spirit.
Right, yeah.
But I'm not opposed to spirits. I like ghouls and goblins.
But
Halloween
abandoned,
time.
old and abandoned,
Abandoned crap. I
Yeah.
love
Okay.
photographing.
All right.
And the fact that America is kind of decaying and there's all this weird shit like water parks that are just like closed down and left to rot.
Yeah.
And like that kind of stuff I really like photographing. So that's what now my biggest
so
list is.
ghost
I'll just
towns.
ghost towns.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of it's like I'll look up watering holes or like all of like the places to swim. And then I'll just be like, all right, what have I done? And like I have my list and I'll just check them off and I'll have like a whole list of food that I haven't eaten that's iconic. Like there's still a shit ton of food.
Yeah. What's
Just 'cause of how
in
much
terms of the watering hole? Like I'm in the algorithm on TikTok that it's like have a soup pie, this waterfall, and like
Soup
all
pie,
of this
love.
stuff, and then you like try to go there, and like I can't figure out how to go there.
I have that problem a ton.
It's like I don't, they're like, oh, you could go stay there, but you have to call this number, and if they don't answer, you just have to keep calling, and you have to do it a year in advance to the day that you want to go. And
There's
I'm
a
like,
ton
I'm
of
fucking
places
out
that
of
I
all of this. I can't even fucking make coffee in the morning.
Breaking Away.
What was that?
Breaking Away movie. The bicycle movie.
Costner and
No, that one's American Flyers.
American Flyers. There you go. There you go.
Anyways, Breaking Away, there's a swim hole in it. And that's one it's a quarry in Indiana where they took it and they made the Washington Monument.
Okay.
And so they took all this marble out and then it just rained in. So there's these beautiful swim holes that are all on private property that I tried to go to in Indiana. And those are ones I could not go to. Those are ones they successfully. Like I also had Dennis Hopper's grave in New Mexico. I just couldn't find. I was in the right town. And I was everywhere I read was like it's over here, and it wasn't there.
You didn't
wasn't
stop
there?
into the 76 station and ask Charlie.
So where's Dennis Hopper? There was a lot of that.
Yeah.
That was where I found Edgar Allan Poe's grave.
Really?
Yeah, it was like I guess I was gonna say it was a Blockbuster, but I don't know for the morality of the story. I don't know if Blockbuster is still in.
It'd be one of the few.
2013.
It'd be one of the
But
few.
it was like it was some sort of a movie store.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you know where Edgar Allan Poe's buried? And oh yeah, it's just like down the street and over there.
And where's that?
Well, and
what
then
city's that in?
the fun time is there was a couple of those that I went to and they had no idea. Like when I got lost from like Lincoln's Tomb and I was like a block away. I asked someone and they were like, no, I don't know where that is. And it's like Abraham Lincoln is buried on this fucking street and you didn't know that? Like, and they were a local, I could tell. Like,
It's a lack of social awareness.
Lack of social
Pride
awareness.
ourselves on being aware.
yeah, do you not know
That's
about
not
a
real
president that got shot? That's really important.
Yeah. It's one block down. No shit.
I should
really
check
is
that
it?
out.
Who was he again?
The guy on the 5? The guy? No
On
shit.
the 5.
Oh, hey, this
fun.
is perfect.
Cosmo,
I'll
this
definitely
was
come back for
amazing.
another round.
Yeah, let's
This
do
is
it
awesome.
for sure. We probably need to open it up. I know my family is going to be like, "Why didn't you ask him this? Why didn't you?" I'm just going to write them all down.
Yeah.
and we're going to ask him all the questions.
Then when he comes back, then we'll say, "Here's the 80 questions that we didn't
I
cover."
like that.
Classic.
I like an organized order.
Let's make sure we plug. You said you have a website for your
I
photography,
do.
right?
Yeah, 54321cosmo.com.
Okay.
5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Numbers?
Cosmo,
The
yep.
numbers or
The
the
numbers.
letters?
The numbers.
Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Cosmo with a C. Cosmo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cosmo.
No.com. All right. For some
And
photography.
that's
All right.
some of my photography.
Awesome.
It's a lot of my story and that stuff.
Awesome.
And a map of everywhere I stayed.
Is your Venmo on there?
Yeah,
My Venmo's on there.
Shout out to the Venmo.
Send him some money.
But I don't know. I've done a couple podcasts and I've told some people.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I put the wrong Venmo. And someone's just sitting here going, this idiot. This idiot.
Cosmo with a K.
Cosmo the K is just living the
Yeah, well,
high life.
I was actually thinking that there's a seasoning called Cosmos,
Yeah.
and it's with a K, and it's like he's lying. He owns a seasoning line.
I got free pizza at the 3 Cosmos pizzerias I went to by showing my ID.
Yes.
So all I said was, you guys still give free pizza to guys, people named Cosmo? And they were like, normally no, but yeah.
What the hell? Yeah, you are.
One was the owner, and he's
still.
like, yeah, but I'm the owner, and don't try this shit again.
What was the best free thing that you got? What's the best free thing?
Oh, that.
Pizza's on the list.
40 days.
Yeah.
40 days in a
Something
row,
there.
you didn't spend a dime.
I
Something.
know. Well, that's what I had a ton of free sushi meals. So I think just like if I was really gonna boil, I wish I had a better answer.
Yeah.
But anytime someone
Sushi
buys me a
meals, though.
sushi meal,
So did you just go in there and go,
Like 7 or
"Hey,
8
I'm
of
doing
those.
this thing. Here's my Facebook page," and then they were like, "Dude, let me buy you dinner." Or like,
no one did that. I had one person bought me a hotel, and then I gave my credit card for incidentals and got charged.
for the hotel.
Yeah, and so that was the only time that I got something where it was like, oh, cool, someone really reached out and did something for me. And then the
you got
hotel
banged
fucked
for
it
it,
up,
yeah.
and then I am an idiot and I never changed it. And it's just I got charged for that North Carolina hotel, which was a bummer. But yeah.
Well, Cosmo, you are an inspiration.
Thank
It's,
you. It was
Awesome
nice
to talk
to meet
you.
you.
I
Yeah,
feel
me
like
too.
a lot of people are going to love listening to this. So
Go
thank you for coming.
D-backs.
Yeah,
Let's go
Let's
D-backs.
go. We got to get
in
one.
a
We
hole.
got to get one. Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta
Let's
get
do
one.
it.
Hey,
All right.
you might want to. Can you make? Can you cook a Philly
I
or
think
something?
I will go back to the house that I'm dog sitting at.
All right.
And I will cook a Philly in a demi glaze.
There you go. All right, let's go.
All right, we're out of here.
Man.
All right, thank you.
Oh, now give me just a little bit, and I don't need a lot. Open up your heart, show me what you got. Sugar taste, sweet coffee. Give me just a little bit. Give me just a little bit, and I don't need a lot. Open up your heart, show me what you got. Sugar taste, sweet coffee. Now give me just a little bit.